Hi, it's Rupert Hine here from Action Coach near Kinross, and I'm joined today by Aeneas O'Hara, the founder and CEO at Away from the Ordinary. Welcome, Aeneas.
Hey Rupert, how are you?
I'm absolutely fantastic, thank you. So tell us, Aeneas, who and what are Away from the Ordinary?
Yeah, so Away from the Ordinary are a tailor-made, bespoke luxury Scottish travel company. So the premise of the company is that you come to us, you want to visit Scotland, and we have a conversation, and then we put together this beautiful tailor-made trip to Scotland for you based on all the things that you like and love. So a lot of our clients think of obviously castles, golf, whiskey, scenery for Scotland. And then we can do some amazing things on top of that, open doors to castles after hours, get you into distilleries after hours, things like that. Meet the great and the good of Scotland, all those sorts of good things.
Fantastic. So you you didn't set out in the travel business. You've had a pretty illustrious career in fintech. How did you how did you move, and what took you into creating a travel business?
Um, Sir Alex Ferguson says, when you leave Scotland, you actually become more Scottish. So possibly it was a bit to do with that. So in 2004, I came down to London and started working for a fintech company. And towards the end of my time with them, I moved out to New York with them and lived in New York for 3 years. And I was supposed to be talking to all my clients about our software solutions. But most of the time, I was talking to them about Scotland, where to go in Scotland, and what whiskey to drink. So back in 2017, I thought I better put my money where my mouth is, and so I set up Away from the Ordinary so I could actually talk about the things I'm supposed to be talking about and get paid to talk about the things I'm supposed to be talking about. So I didn't have to talk about software anymore and could just wax lyrical about whiskey and Scotland all the time.
Fantastic. So you've seen the opportunity.
Yeah.
You come from a pretty spectacular part of. I mean, there's lots of spectacular bits of Scotland, but there's not many more spectacular bits than where you are over on the west coast.
Yeah.
And but that's, yeah, having that gives you a start, but you've got to create a business out of that as well. So how did you start creating that into a business opportunity?
Yeah, well, I I I was already working at the company I was at, and I was starting to, think about it, think about the website design and all these great things that you try to do in registering the business, etc. So I was in the process of doing all that, and then when I found the URL Away from the Ordinary, I couldn't believe it was still available, so I snapped that up and just started going about the minutiae, right? You have to register the business, do all those things. And then I created a beautiful website, and then I thought, okay, the clients will come. Obviously, that's not the case. So we started doing our main client base is from the USA. So we started going on trips to the US to go to trade events, and that's how we started getting clients. It's always kind of been an ambition to try and get as many clients directly as much as possible rather than through other agencies. We do work with some great agencies. So agencies in New York, for example, and the clients always go back to them whether they want to travel to Japan this year, Scotland next year, Italy the year after. So we've got some great partners like that, but we try and go direct as much as possible. And one of the ways we found to do that is via PR. So we try to get in as many publications as possible. So we just were in the Washington Post 10 days ago. And previous to that, we were in the Australian. So we try and get that PR so that people read about us, and then it also helps from an SEO perspective. But if anybody's watching this and thinking about setting up a business, don't just create a pretty website and then sit back and wait for the phone to ring. It doesn't work like that. I knew it wouldn't quite work like that, but yeah, I was kind of had the kind of personality that I had to make the jump to then start working on it because I had to concentrate on my previous job while I was in there. And then once I made the leap of faith, which was probably the scariest thing I've ever done, then I was really in the nuts and bolts and working on it.
Yeah, yeah. It's the old thing with business where everyone starts off because they've got a dream or an idea or they're really good at something,
Yeah,
and they forget that as well as the operational stuff, you've got to get people interested, then you've got to convert them, do the
yeah,
delivery, and of course get the money afterwards. But
yeah,
so so you've got your marketing strategies starting to come online. You've got your target market with your customers, based in the US and elsewhere. How do you go about starting to put together those packages and build the relationships around Scotland?
yeah. Actually, that was easier than I expected. Um, I mean, we I I travel around Scotland a lot because I love Scotland, but also while researching for this company, for when starting the company, and so obviously it starts off as a fairly easy conversation. I want to send you clients, right? So so that was always an easy opener. But really the partnerships in Scotland with people on the ground, you just have to find businesses that we've got a certain kind of taste and a certain style, I guess, and we look for that in other businesses, and we look for a really high quality of customer service. Um, so kind of, hotels that really take care of their clients, hotels that really care about their clients, which isn't always the case. So we had to do our due diligence there, and we then start thinking about the routes. Normally, most clients that come to us will have one or two things they desperately want to see, whether, they want to see Stirling Castle or they want to drink whiskey from a certain distillery. So that's kind of almost like you put that marker down on the map and then you build out the itinerary across the rest of it. And then you have to listen to the clients for those telltale signs about what things they like, what things they don't like, and we ask them what their hobbies are because sometimes they've got hobbies that they don't associate with Scotland, but then we can get some great people that we know on the ground to chat with them about what they do, whether it's a certain type of craftsmanship or something like that. So we try and get as much detailed info from the clients as possible about what they like and don't like, and then build the itinerary around that. Um, and it's great fun. Like, just last week I got a question I'd never had before. So they always come up, So I want to meet the breeder of Skye Terriers. So now I'm fishing about looking for a breeder of Skye Terriers, right? But that's what keeps it interesting is that no two trips are the same. It would make my life so much easier if we could sell two trips that were exactly the same. Like it would save me so much time and effort. But so far, for the last 7 years, I have completely failed. We have failed as a company to sell two trips that are the same. So in that aspect, we're failing. But on client satisfaction, we're thoroughly succeeding because we do genuinely listen and then put something together for the client.
And it's interesting because obviously, from an operational efficiency point of view, selling two things the same or three things the same would be really good.
Don't go crazy, Rupert. Three. I'm still trying to get my head around two.
Uh, but one of the things that you started off with, one of your selling points is that every trip's bespoke. It's
Yeah,
built around the client.
yeah,
Now you've talked about your passion for Scotland. You're immersed um, in remote rural Scottish culture. But you've also got a team that you've built around you.
yes.
How have you gone about finding and then building that passion and attention to detail
Yeah.
into your team.
Yeah. I mean, we have actually, I've surprised myself at how well we've recruited. Like, we have been, I didn't think we'd have this great a rate of like, I love the team that I work with, and they've stayed. Um, Two tried to leave, but then they came back. So we're like, it's a bit like the mob. You can't really leave away from the ordinary. Um, so we created a great team. They get on well, and yeah, we've been. I sometimes think, oh, we've been really lucky in recruiting, but we haven't. We've just been kind of really, I guess, good judges of character. When you get as old as me, you've seen quite a lot of people, met quite a lot of people, so I guess you trust your gut, right? But yeah, the team are great. I think being passionate about Scotland isn't too hard. Uh, the attention to detail has been something that we've got the sales team and then we've got the logistics team. So the sales team uh, can kind of be slightly off the mark, kind of, but the logistics team are the ones that, right, the driver's going to be there at 8 a.m., pick you up, and then you'll go here, and then at 10:30 you'll do this. So the logistics team, they're on it, and very, they're amazing and very detail orientated. So yeah, so recruitment's been good for us. We've done it well, and we've got a great team. I think one of the things that we should know is that my team's fully remote. Um, and I there's been a lot of stuff in the news recently with Spotify. Some people are saying you can work wherever, where remote working still lives on. And then some people are now like, right, listen, guys, COVID's over, back in the office, minimum 4 days a week, maybe 5 days a week. So I am fully on board, not for every job, not for everything, but with the team we have, fully remote and never checking up on them. I really don't care if they are having a coffee with their pal at 11 or walking the dog at 10, just as long as you're there when you're supposed to be for, I don't know, a meeting or a client call or whatever, and that the job gets done, right? And I know that in the summer when we're really busy with clients on the ground, the team will be there if needed after hours. We want them to do 9 to 5, but if something rude is hitting the fan, then they'll be there, right? And helping out. So there's a level of trust. I trust them. I think they trust me. Um, but yeah, the fully remote working thing has really worked for Away from Norway. And I understand it can't work for all businesses, but from our perspective, it's really worked. So we got people in. It's also really nice because we can employ people in rural parts of Scotland that for similar types of jobs they might have had to relocate to the central belt. So we've got people in Hawick, Newton Moor, um, Fort William, and Nairn. And then weirdly, we've got two in Edinburgh. I don't know why you're working for me if you live in Edinburgh, there's more choices. But yeah, we got two in Edinburgh as well.
I mean, with some of the traffic in Edinburgh, they could be quite remote from each other.
Yes.
But
Yeah.
so yeah, I mean, it's an interesting point. There is a lot in the news about good teams have all got to be back in the office at the moment,
Yeah.
and and one of the keys to having a really strong team is having the level of trust
Yeah.
between people. And it's obviously easier to build trust when people are regularly meeting each other.
Yeah.
So how do you go about building and maintaining that dynamic amongst your team whilst they're so far apart?
Yeah, we try and get the team all together. One of them's in New York as well, I should add. But we try and get the team all together once a year. So we do have an offsite. So we had 3 days there in November, or no, sorry, early December. We went to Inverness for one night and Skye for 2 nights. So the idea is that we're having fun. We're being rewarded for all the great work we've done in that year. We're building trust, building team bonding, and then also seeing things that our clients have see and do and participate in and places they stay. So that's very important. We do that every year, and then we also try and meet up if I'm in one of the areas where one of the team members is, or a few of us are in the same area, we'll try and meet up. But definitely once a year we all meet. Once a week we have a team meeting, so we're all there. We all have to be there. And that's on Zoom. All the other meetings it's mainly just calls. With clients, we do Zooms or calls, but when it's internal, just tend to do calls. I believe that Zooms take up more energy than calls.
Yeah,
So if there's no need for a Zoom, we kind of scrap that. So yeah, so just encouraging the guys to have one-on-ones with each other. I have try and have a one-on-one with each team member every week or every 2 weeks. But then it's kind of I want to say door open policy, but it's kind of like people can call me or WhatsApp me at any point to ask me a quick question or jump on a 15-minute call. That happens more in the summer, right? When clients are about to touch down and there's some, driver's got to make a change or whatever. There's been snow in July in Braemar or whatever it is, So all the things we have to deal with.
yeah, yeah. It's fascinating, and it's the the other thing, and we were touching on it a little earlier, is obviously the having great connectivity
Yeah,
is a key piece underpinning this.
yeah,
And one of the risks living somewhere more remote
yeah,
is that connectivity either is less reliable or is more subject to things like extreme weather events.
yeah.
How do you how do you if you like prepare or plan for um, not always having the most optimal?
Yeah, most of the time we're okay. We're pretty good. Like sometimes phone reception is bad, but then you got WhatsApp for, when if the Wi-Fi is down, then you call on Apache reception. Yeah, I've got to remember actually, I got to remember some people I have to call on WhatsApp because it's better. Some people I have to call direct. So because their Wi-Fi is not so good, but their 4G is great. So I have to remember which team member I'm calling. Um, I just want one thing just to come back to the thing about the remote team. I do think the big thing where it is less good. It's still very good. But the one time I think onboarding, I think that's difficult for new starters. I think an office environment or whatever environment you are in, but you're there every day for the first few weeks and you build that, it accelerates the growth of the trust and the confidence and the learnings, right? So I do think that's somewhere where I would like to find a solution for that when we bring on new starters. But apart from that, it's great. Um,
Yeah, yeah, no, absolutely. It's tough trying to bring people on and manage people
yeah,
at a distance.
yeah.
How do you how do you help people when they join you get that attention to detail?
I mean, I do think that everybody's brain works slightly different, and it's a muscle, and you can train it. But some people are obviously much more geared up to attention to detail versus others, right? So you do have to eke that out during the interview process, and we've got like we're a small team, right? But we have got from age like 23 to age like maybe I shouldn't say, but mid 50s, let's say. So we've got a wide variety of ages. So with the younger folk, it's harder to make a call on the CVs because there's less information there. Um, but yeah, I think you just got to again, it's a judgment during the interview process and looking at the CV. We do put in place there's certain rules, right? So we start out the kind of framework for a client trip is this. We basically kind of got like it looks like a spreadsheet, right? And so we've got the dates in there, and the dates have to be in a certain format. So we cannot when we email. It sounds really stupid, but when we email a partner about a trip, it's one of my rules. It's like this is it, guys. This is one of these rules that we're sticking to. And basically, if you email a partner and you say, "Oh, can I get a hotel room, or can I get a picnic, or can we visit your castle after hours on the 17th of June?" You cannot type that date. You have to copy and paste it from the spreadsheet. And it sounds so stupid and it's so mundane. But when you're looking at lots of different dates, spreadsheets, and whatever, June, July, whatever, you've really got to be on it. So that's just one of those little rules that we have in place. Like you copy it from the date and then you paste it into the email. And that's like a non-negotiable. And we've had it with partners, right? It's very rare. But we've had it with partners where they're like, uh, sorry, you've not picked up our client. And I'm talking out of school here. And they're like, oh, I had it down for the 17th of July. I didn't have it down for the 17th of June. And they've just like, written it in their booking form or whatever it is. So there's certain things like that that you have to create little cheats or little rules. But uh, but yeah, generally, the the team and the logistics side are really good. But there's always like that's the other thing. That's one of the rules is I sound very rule based now. I was looking quite relaxed at the start of this podcast, and now they're like, oh my God, he's a rule crazy dictator. But no, one of the things that we get across really early is that everybody makes mistakes, right? We all make mistakes. And so the first thing you got to do with a mistake is just like own up to it, and then we just got to look for a client resolution. The only thing that matters at that stage, if and it doesn't matter if we've made the mistake or the travel partners made the mistake. We just got to find a solution. So let's talk about it quickly, but look for that client solution. Their driver's not turned up, or there's been a problem with the distillery or whatever it is, and you just resolve that as the key is client satisfaction again. Um, and then we obviously have like a kind of we put together a very rudimentary list of anything that's happened during the year and work out it does it sometimes the client most of the time the client's not even affected or doesn't even know, right? Because we nip it in the bud straight away. But we just put those down and then we're like, okay, is there any learnings here as to what we could have done differently, or do we not work with that travel partner again or whatever? But yeah, we only get 5-star reviews, so we're doing something right.
That's always good. It's always good to hear, and it's interesting. I mean, it might need to forgive me for trespassing slightly outside Scotland, but Clive Woodward talks about when he took English rugby from no hopers to win the World Cup many years ago, and they maybe always kept up after that. But one of the things there that he introduced, he did the same thing when he um, spearheaded the Olympic um, team in 2012, was all about teamship rules.
Yeah,
And it was about those rules that the team comes together and decides are those non-negotiables,
yeah,
and everyone buys into.
yeah.
And when everyone buys into them, they're so powerful. And you've just demonstrated exactly that.
Yeah, and sometimes it's just small things that keep you right, you know. Um, they seem immaterial, but 99 times out of 100 you get it right. It's just trying to stop that one thing going wrong. And then if you are able to say, "Oh, listen, guys, I messed this up, whatever," or something's gone wrong, and there's no worry about repercussions or judgment, then it's just about resolution. That's all that matters, the resolution. If you accept the fact that everybody's capable of making a mistake and you just work towards resolution, it's much better. And everybody should not be making mistakes because they're responsible adults who feel accountability and have they are proud of the work that they do and they want 100% client satisfaction. So that's what motivates them. It's all about the carrot. It's not about the stick, right? Yeah,
It's a bit like the work of the accident investigation branches in the UK, where they're not about apportioning blame. They're only interested in finding the root cause
yeah,
so they can stop it happening again.
yeah,
And it's a really powerful place to be where you've got a team with a culture who can put their hand up, and and that allows you to learn, as you say,
yeah.
and move on. So you've built the business. You've got your team around you. Where's Away from the Ordinary going to be in 5 years' time?
Um, 5 years time. Well, we grew by 100% last year in terms of trips, slightly more even, but I don't know if it's 103 or 102, but yeah, we grew slightly. So we're not expecting that level of growth coming into 2025, but we are still expecting to grow. Um, I think for me, I want us to be kind of, if people think of traveling to Scotland for a tailor-made bespoke luxury trip, that we would be the first people they think of. So that's kind of the aim, to make that as possible as possible, to make that possible, basically. Um, we we want to expand slightly. So since 2019, we've been doing trips to Ireland and England, but we've never publicized that until this year. So that's always been in a conversational manner with the clients. We're building their trip, and they're like, "Okay, cool. I really want to go to Scotland. I want to travel to Scotland with you. Do you know who can help me with a weekend in London beforehand or a week in Ireland beforehand?" So we've been doing those since 2019. So in January is the first time we started going out and publicizing that we can do England and Ireland as well. So we want to grow in that manner in those locations. Um, One of the things that we hate is when people go to Ireland and say they preferred Ireland to the Scottish portion. And we're like, oh, okay. We love Ireland, but not more than we love Scotland. Um, but it's also a testament to the great trips that we organise there. Not to rub it in, Rupert, but nobody's ever said they loved England more than Scotland. Just so. But just to get you back for your World Cup, England World Cup winning comment.
Uh,
Um, but yeah, so we just want to grow and be seen as, like, the first person you'd call for that kind of trip. Um, as with any startup, any small business, there's always that kind of chicken and egg thing. We're growing, so we need to hire. Oh, have we hired too much, or have we not hired enough? So it's cutting back growth, or we've hired too much and it's cutting back profitability. So that's like, I mean, I could mention that, but anybody that's got a business has got the exact same issue, right? It's not, I don't know if it's even, you just think when you start a business, oh, we're growing, I'll hire. But then the actual, you know, it's quite delicate dance, right? Going up bit by bit.
Absolutely. Okay, so change tack slightly. If you think back, what's the one piece of advice you'd give your 18-year-old self starting out on this journey?
I would be like, there's no harm in having a plan. Like I used to hear people when I was like 18 or 20, and they'd be like, like yeah, to be successful, you need a 5-year plan. Like back then, I was like, a 5-year plan? What's that like? I don't know what's happening in 5 days. So yeah, could have planned it out a bit and then, you know, relax, things will be okay, that kind of thing. But yeah, I think a bit more, a bit more planning maybe when I was younger. But hey. it's worked out okay, I think.
Absolutely. And yeah, with a shelf like you've got behind you, definitely something to toast the success with.
Yeah, indeed.
Look, and it's been a pleasure talking and learning all about your business, and wish you every success for the future. It'll be fascinating watching you uh, hit that number one spot in people's minds as the place to go for those bespoke experiences. And maybe one day you will get a 5-star review for a trip to England that people prefer over Scotland. But I'm not going to hold my breath for that one.
We can but dream, Rupert. We can but dream.
If I preferred living in England to Scotland, I wouldn't live where I am.
Yeah.
No, that's been brilliant. Thank you very much for joining us and sharing that. It's been superb.
My pleasure. Thanks for chatting to me, Rupert.